The Sox lost their sixth game in a row, falling to the Guardians 6-3 on the South Side on Thursday night. Jake Berger was a one-man show. What are the plans for him moving forward? We're getting to know the two prospects that came back in the Giolito Lopez trade, and it sounds like the Sox might have gotten a decent return. Also, the all-wise and powerful Rick Hahn clarifies the situation.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome back to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong, die-hard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Chicago White Sox will try it again, take on the Guardians on Friday. Touki Toussaint is on the hill. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. State of the Sox. Disappointing, disgusting. 41-63. 41-63, and we still have a few days left in July. Unbelievable. I say it at the beginning, I think, of just about every episode the last maybe week or so. How did we get here? I have no idea, and now it is all just slipping away. Who else will be traded this weekend? Is that trade deadline is coming up pretty quick. White Sox lost to the Guardians in game one of the series. It's the sixth loss in a row for the Southsiders. The ugliness that is the White Sox was masked on Thursday as more information came out regarding the Lopez Gio trade and the prospects we got in return from LA. So Quero and Bush, second and third prospects in the Angels system. This is from MLB Trade Rumors. As part of all that all-in mentality, the Los Angeles Angels relinquished a pair of their most talented prospects. Edgar Quero is one of the game's top minor league catchers. The switch hitter reached Double-A by his 20th birthday and is holding his own in a pitcher-friendly setting. Over 317 plate appearances, Quero owns a 245, 385, 332 batting line. He's only hit 3 home runs, but is walking at a massive 17% clip while striking out just 16.7% of the time. That kind of plate discipline is exceptionally rare for a hitter so young. The Cuban-born backstop is the sport's 61 overall prospect at Fangraphs and 85th at Baseball America. Scouting reports predictably rave about his advanced offensive skills and suggests he has a good chance to be a regular in the long term. Ky Bush, a 23-year-old southpaw, was also at Double-A, a second-round pick out of St. Mary's in 2021. He ranked 9th among Angels prospects in Eric Longenhagen's recent organizational rankings at Fangraphs. Both Longenhagen and Kylie McDaniel of ESPN suggest the 6'6 hurler has a chance to stick as a starter and praise his slider, though Longenhagen raises concerns about his low 90s fastball. Bush has been a little homer prone in his first 6 Double-A starts, but is striking out nearly 30% of opponents there. It's a strong return for a pair of impending free agents, with Quero the clear headliner, yet it's understandable the Angels would part with those players particularly with Hope in the fold, another catcher that the Angels have in their system, to make a push this season. Their aggressiveness extends beyond the prospect capital as the trade officially pushed them into luxury tax territory. I like hearing the offensive stuff on Quero, switch hitter, all that stuff. Defense. I got to get a little bit more information on how he is as a catcher defending. I mean, we heard about the offense with Zach Collins, and questionable if he was ever going to be a catcher, and that we all know how that panned out. But I like what I've been hearing about these two prospects, especially with a switch hitting catcher like Edgar Quero. This is Rick Hahn and what he had to say. Given this club's performance over the course of the last several months, it's apparent that these types of moves have to take place. Given where we are at and putting us in the best position we can go moving forward. Sox GM Rick Hahn said, certainly not where any of us in the organization thought when this year started we would come to the trade deadline. But clearly moves like these in terms of putting ourselves in the best position going forward are essential. And we certainly are pleased to add Bush and Quero. Lucas and Reynaldo will both be certainly be missed, and certainly both can help make the Angels team a better position for hopefully a postseason run for both of them, Hahn said. Hahn said also he didn't think by any stretch the White Sox were done with moves, but until you line up on the actual deals and everything gets approved medically, nothing's done until it's finally done. I could be back at this podium again tomorrow, or I could not be talking to you until August 1st. It's hard to say. Anytime Rick Hahn talks these days, I just cringe. The fact that he has the ability to lead this thing all over again, sell off assets for prospects, and I know they're looking for more major league ready or close to major league ready prospects. Maybe not the same situation, of course, back in 2016, but I just can't believe a word that he says. And I think they knew that they were going to have to do this a long time ago. I'm such a cynic when it comes to Rick Hahn, and it's been burned way too many times. And again, this is the game right now. We're getting back prospects to replenish our farm system. It's terribly weak. But again, I've seen this happen before. We've all seen this happen before. So it's very difficult right now for me to get extremely excited like I was at Sox Fest 2017. I've told you the story. In Hahn We Trust t-shirts, standing ovation for Rick Hahn, the buzz, the energy, because we felt like we were on the cusp of something great in the next few years. And I'm not saying we're back in that same spot. We'll see in the next few days what other talent gets unloaded. And I think they absolutely have to. I mean, this team is just ugly. They are depressing to watch, and they're going nowhere. And so you've got to sell off. You've got to sell off as much as you possibly can. Get creative, package some guys together. What's the sense of holding on to some guys? If you're getting a great return that you never imagined you'd get because some teams are getting desperate, you have to listen and you have to entertain. Lucas Giolito had some parting words, and then he had some stuff on Instagram. I grew up here as a player and as a man, a lot of failure and a lot of success. I owe this organization so much, this city, the fans. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm always going to have the White Sox in my heart. And this is what he put out on Instagram. Chicago, what a journey it has been. These past 6 years have been the most memorable years of my life. Multiple playoff trips, a no-hitter, and an all-star game are just a few of the memories that I will always remember. To the city of Chicago, to the fans, and to the White Sox organization, thank you so much for the love and support you have shown me throughout these years. It has been an absolute honor to wear the White Sox uniform, and it will be something that I cherish forever. Dylan Cease continues to be less than 2022, and Jake Burger was the offense on Thursday. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only. Exclusions apply. The White Sox face off against the Guardians on Friday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Southsiders fell to the Guardians 6-3 Thursday night. Hot, sticky, humid. It's been nasty in Chicago for the last few days. Temperatures climbing even more on Friday, from what I understand. Dylan Cease, the Cy Young runner-up last year, he has been less than himself this season, to say the least. He still can be dangerous at times, and he shows flashes of that slider and that elevating fastball and some pinpoint control from time to time, but definitely not the same pitcher at all that he was last season. Cease got knocked around early. I mean, Cleveland had a plan, and that's the thing with the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, I talked about it last season on this podcast when we'd be playing the Guardians. They are so prepared. They know what they do well. They understand what they don't do, and they try to exploit every weakness you have. They are going to out-hustle you. They are going to steal extra bases, and they just seemed so prepared for Dylan Cease. Jumped over him, jumped on him, jumped through him, whatever you want to call it. They had a plan. I mean, they've seen Dylan Cease many times, and they got to him early. Cleveland scored 4 runs in the first 3 innings, seemingly jumping on, a first pitch, almost like they knew it was coming. And maybe they did, because I just think they're such a well-run team. Dylan Cease's final line, 5 2/3, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, a couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. His ERA 4.15. Jake Burger was the offense on Thursday night. He had 2 home runs, 3 RBI. The only White Sox player with multiple hits on Thursday night, and one of the few that did not strike out. He's got 3 home runs in 2 games, playing that second base. Pedro said they're going to throw him there because they need his bat. And obviously they put Moncada right back at the hot corner. Sox offense on Thursday, 3 runs, 8 hits. Tim Anderson was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Moncada, 1 for 4. Since coming back, he has done pretty much nothing except for almost having a grand slam that was robbed by Suzuki from the Cubs. Vaughn did not play. Still, I'm sure, dealing with that foot issue. Sox were 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. 0 for 2. And that's the other thing. It's like, okay, maybe the Sox are middle of the pack when it comes to average with runners in scoring position. I haven't checked in a while, but it's the fact that they do not have multiple opportunities. They just do not have these chances, and then of course they can't execute more times than not. But 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position on Thursday. So what are the White Sox going to do with Jake Burger? I mean, what's the plan here? I mean, for Jake Burger, he's white hot right now. The average, a razor sharp 217, but we know we look at so many other things besides that. He's got, an 800 OPS, 24 home runs, 51 RBIs. Again, this is a guy that did not make the club. after spring training. And they've been trying so hard this season to find places for him to play, whether it's first base, of course, his natural position, third, he'll DH. And recently, it's just throw him at second. So you're not going to see Elvis Andrus, the veteran, and his veteran presence. Zach Remillard, that Pedro Grifol was so high on for a while because he could do so many great things like bunt. No, they're going to put Jake Berger at second because they need his bat. Guys playing out of position just so we could get a bat. That's the White Sox way. It's been like that for many, many years. It's why we had Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets in corner outfield positions last season for their bats, not for defense at all. Sox had 2 errors on Thursday. Cleveland took advantage of that, and scored on it and probably laughed to themselves, what are they doing? What are the White Sox doing? I'm wondering that too, specifically with Jake Berger. Is he a guy you move at the trade deadline? I mean, he's going to have to get packaged with a bunch of other stuff. I think it all comes down to what do the White Sox want for Jake Berger? Where do they see him in the organization in 2024? Is he going to be the second baseman? Are they going to put Yoan Moncada back at second base if Moncada is really up for that, and put Berger at third? Is that's how it's going to go? And then you've got Lenyn Sosa and a few other infielders kind of down on the farm, just waiting for their opportunity. I really don't know what they're doing, and so it'll be interesting to watch over these next few days. I think Jake Berger stays. I think there's somebody that they want to have on this ball club. But if you don't know what you're doing with him and you don't have a plan for him, he better not just sit there and rot, as a bench guy and getting a hit every now and then. So again, the Sox have so many decisions and so many things they have to figure out, and you're looking forward, you're looking to 2024 because the things you do now will impact that, obviously. And Jake Berger is such a curious case. Rumors and hearsay, according to Jesse Rogers of ESPN, the Miami Marlins have expressed interest in longtime White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson, hoping a change of scenery could help boost the team's fledgling shortstop production. Despite boasting a 19-8 record in June and jumping out to a 53-39 record just before the All-Star break on July 9th, the Fish have come up on hard times in the week since. The Marlins emerged from the midseason intermission, dropping 8 straight, and have only won twice in the second half. Though Anderson is in the final season of a 7-year, $37.5 million contract, the financial commitment may still loom large for the Marlins team that boasts one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. Anderson's $12.5 million salary makes him the 4th highest paid player on the White Sox roster, with a $14 million team option looming for 2024. And then Lance Lynn, this was an interesting thing. I was getting some snippets from Ryan McGuffey and Vinny Duber on Twitter, and this was prior to the game. Lance Lynn asked a lot about, what's happening here. Are you going to be moved? This was almost a done deal with the Tampa Bay Rays recently. Lance Lynn said he had not had any communication with the White Sox front office about trades. I'm not going to lie, there's been no communication. Nobody told me that anything's close or anything. When you play long enough in this game, you assume that you're going to be kept in the loop of what things might happen. He went on to talk about how it's been done differently in other ways that he has played, which is not a shock at all if you've been a White Sox fan for even a couple months. The Sox do see things seemingly very, very different than any other team in all of baseball. Things seem to run much smoother, especially in terms of communication and all that stuff. White Sox have a certain way of doing things, and apparently Lance Lynn is taking note. So we'll see what happens with Lance Lynn. He seemed to be really coveted as an arm that could move any moment. So nothing yet. White Sox look to snap their losing skid and will most likely say goodbye to a few more players. More on that in a moment. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the South Side, Sox continuing this series with the Guardians. Touki Toussaint on Friday, to be determined on Saturday, and Michael Kopech on Sunday. This was more from Rick Hahn regarding the Gio and Lopez trade. Unfortunately, I've had several weeks to get to that headspace, Rick Hahn said moments after announcing the trade. I'm not going to lie, the idea where we're at this point, where guys like Giolito and Lopez, who we acquired back in 2016 when we kicked off the rebuild in earnest, are logically the guys that make sense to move given their contract status. There's an element of real disappointment that we're at this point right now, that there wasn't more postseason victories along the way as part of their tenure with the White Sox. I'll have time come August 2nd after the deadline to have a drink and a cigar if I want to wallow in disappointment. Do it then, Hahn said, but now is not the time. Now is the time to continue to improve the future of this organization. And I think we did that tonight, referring, of course, to acquiring those two prospects from the Los Angeles Angels. I cannot read these quotes from Rick Hahn without just wanting to gag. I mean, he is such a clown. He really is. But what else is he going to say? He's putting his acting cap on. He really is, and he's giving us what we think we want to hear, and improving the future. The whole, I'll wait to have my drink and cigar. I've got work to do. I've got to roll up my sleeves and make this organization better. I have no time to wallow in disappointment. Give me a break. You're doing whatever your boss wants you to do, and that is Jerry Reinsdorf. This organization never got really serious about the rebuild in 2016. They made a lot of pleasant comments about what they could do, a lot of lip service stuff, but it's action. It's absolute action. They didn't do it the right way. And I have no faith that they're going to really do it the right way this time, whether it's a true-on rebuild or they're just going to try to patch some things here and there, because then you're questioning, well, what are you keeping and what are you giving away? And are we confident in what we're getting back? Because, man, you go through the line of different prospects that have come through this organization since 2016 and what they've really given us. And again, 2 playoff wins, not series, 2 playoff wins. So, hey, Rick Hahn talked, he spoke, he made comments, and, all you can do is just kind of dissect. But I personally, I can't believe anything that he says. It's show me. This is all prove it. Show me. It's great that you said that, and it's great that, you're going to get back to work and you're no rest until the White Sox organization is better. That's wonderful, but I need to see results. I need to see serious results. Because I've been burned. It's been burned, and it's painful right now. I think all Sox fans are feeling it. It's like, whoa, wait a second. It's not, to me, terribly shocking that Giolito got traded. It's the fact that we're in this situation to be trading off players and being sellers at this point here in 2023, which is with the lack of body of successes that we have to show for it. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Again, it'll be more watching. I'll be curious on Kopech's start on Sunday and maybe even Toussaint on Friday, because I think Toussaint could potentially be in the rotation in 2024. And Michael Kopech, man, I just don't know if he can't put together a solid, 2 months left in the season, something like that. And he looks just terribly inconsistent, lacking confidence, and you just can't string stuff together. Then how do you move forward? How can you confidently move forward and say, this guy absolutely has, a spot in the rotation in 2024? I guess money, depending on what he's owed and years and all that kind of stuff. But he's a prove it candidate. So we'll see what happens and who's going to be around. Who will be around after Rick Hahn continues to wheel and deal. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We're on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTV. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. White Sox take on the Guardians on Friday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. And hey, everydayers, I've been hearing from so many of you in the YouTube comments and on Twitter or LockedOnSox@gmail. And I appreciate it. Thank you for the listenership. Thank you for the support. Thank you for continuing to consume this podcast and pass it along to other Sox fans in your life. Next episode, I will recap the weekend that was for our White Sox. Who knows what's going to happen? Take a head count, I guess, of who's still around. Appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.